urge Congress to take action to protect our country from its most imminent threat. Electricity would cease, the internet would go down, and the banking system.
A strong America is the only thing standing in the way. Country only needs a little chaos.
Sir, what's the mission? Disarm the population and restore order.
Do you have any weapons inside your home or on your person?
I'm just so afraid of the world that you're gonna have to grow up in.
This is a time, man, woman, young or old, when folks run and hide, or they pull up their bootstraps and they fight.
Welcome back to Boys Bible Study. We're back again. It's the boys you know and love. As always, I'm your co-host Ash, and I'm here with
Scott,
Julian. And today our very special guest is our friend Xavier Rotnofsky. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
And I want to wish you, Xavier, and all of you boys, happy 4th of July. We did it.
Yeah.
We fucking did it.
It was looking pretty shaky there for a minute.
It was. Antifa was pushing over all the statues, creating police-free zones. They're trying to take this 4th of July away from us. And I'm happy that we're going to put our foot down and say, no, this is ours.
Yeah, I have my gun.
If you thought that the CIA's PSYOP fireworks shows leading up to the 4th of July were spectacular, wait until you see what they've got in store for the actual holiday. This is going to be 24 hours of straight sunlight.
It's just going to be a whole night of EMPs.
Yeah. You mean it just was? This just happened yesterday.
It is July 5th. The smoke is clearing, and our listeners, of course, are the only ones who survived because they've all proofed their homes for this exact scenario. But you look outside your window, the smoke is clearing, the rubble is filling the streets. But hey, we made it. Happy 4th, y'all.
And we're still Americans.
Yes.
Most importantly.
Xavier, you have a bit of an American touch to your work. I would say that your video work centers on patriotic themes sometimes. I think about the video of yours that a couple months ago, there was like 2 days where everywhere I looked, it was your video. It was the video of the Trump supporters that were sort of having a standoff, like different factions of Trump supporters in a Denny's.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little about that? How did that come about?
So my roommate and I heard about this sort of MAGA meetup happening at a Denny's, and we figured, we should just go and eat there and see if anything was going to go down. Just to see what it would be about, like to see a MAGA meetup at a Denny's.
Yeah.
And so we were just there having like brunch. And these people started shuffling in with their MAGA stuff, and they were going into their private room. But it was really weird when like a rival MAGA group showed up that hated them. And so that's when like shit went down. And so, yeah, it was just this weird confrontation. But weirdly enough, Julian and I, like a few weekends ago, we went to a thing in Marina Del Rey. It was like a birthday party for Donald Trump that was like organized in his absence. It was just people in California, throwing a birthday party at the park. And many of the same people that were at that Denny's were at this park, and they all had another fight at the park.
Oh my God.
At this birthday yacht parade for Trump.
So the minute we got there.
Yes. So we actually, we got there right at the right time, and we basically filmed a bunch while we were there, and it was I just got to edit it, but yeah, we got a lot of cool footage.
No fucking way, that's great.
Yeah, I think the best my favorite memory from that was there was supposed to be a parade of yachts going down, traveling through the marina. And there was like one big yacht and then like two smaller boats that were going around every hour or so. And the first time it went by, like everybody at the party sort of just like ran over to the fence that blocked off the water and was just watching it and cheering it along. And the entire parade of boats, like each run through lasted maybe 5 minutes. And that was like traveling at the slowest possible speed for these boats. And my favorite memory was after that first run through, I heard like 3 or 4 people turn around and quietly say to the person next to them, I thought there'd be more boats.
I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah. By the end of the afternoon, there were these like 40-year-old women following us around. They were super suspicious of us. They kept asking us like who we were with. And the reason they were suspicious is because we were the only ones wearing face masks. So they kept like calling us Antifa. But we were just wearing, surgical masks like as you're supposed to.
Yeah, well.
So yeah, if at this point, if you actually did want to go undercover nowadays, like that's the tip off. Like only Antifa thugs would want to wear a cheap surgical mask.
Yeah.
It was such a strange thing because it was basically just saying like it's not possible to be a Trump supporter and want to wish him a happy birthday and also believe in coronavirus.
Right.
It's like a package deal with a lot of these supporters.
Yeah, you would think that wouldn't necessarily have to go hand in hand, but here we are. So to celebrate, we watched a movie that was fitting for the occasion, AmeriGeddon, 2016 film.
A crucial piece of Texas cinema.
You have Richard Linklater, you have Terrence Malick, and then now you have Gary Heavin.
Yes.
It's the 3 fathers of Texas cinema.
Julian, would you mind giving us some background of this film? I want to right away say, not the most Christian film we watched. It's Christian adjacent. Not the most spiritual film we watched, but you Boys Bible Study listeners, you're going to love this one anyway. So take it away, Julian. Tell us about AmeriGeddon.
Yeah, so I don't know how I came across this movie, but it used to be streaming on Amazon Prime for free. Similar to our last episode, this is you're going to find many of the same characters as Bells of Innocence. We got Marshall Teague in this movie as the villain. We got Carrie Scott played Oren in Bells of Innocence. He's another lovable sidekick. Although with maybe not the same politics as our protagonist. Mike Norris has a bit part in this film, but he directed this. And so they got rid of the pedophile guy from Bells of Innocence, which I guess is a plus. And the piece de resistance for this movie is it's not the debut creatively, but it is the screen debut of Gary Heavin.
King.
Who also wrote the film. He previously collaborated with Mike Norris on a movie and Carrie Scott on a movie called Missionaire, which I'm sure someday we'll get to. But Gary Heavin wrote this movie, produced this movie, stars in this movie. He has a net worth of $2 billion that he got from founding Curves Fitness. And later in his life, he decided to dedicate his time and money and effort towards movies with a message. And the first one was Missionaire. And then now we have this one, AmeriGeddon, which is produced by Forewarned LLC. And that is a very apropos title for a production company because this is like you're looking into the mind of, just your average billionaire in America. I don't know. Do you want me to get into like what outside of the movie, what this guy's about?
Yes. Let's start with that for sure. I think that context is great for appreciating this film.
Yeah. So he calls himself a pro-life, anti-foreign intervention libertarian. And, he's kind of like, I don't know. He's just like one of these dudes who they just got lucky and now they have a lot of money and they're also not the smartest people on earth. And it's great when you find out that a guy with $2 billion who claims that he has a direct line to the current governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, and is consulting him on the response to the coronavirus pandemic, goes on InfoWars no less than 3.5 months ago and says that the coronavirus is a man-made biological weapon that is a combination of SARS and HIV that is designed to primarily kill Asian people, but it's gotten too powerful and now it's going to kill a lot of Europeans and non-Asian people.
Wow.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, and before that, when he was promoting AmeriGeddon, he would make claims like we have open borders in Texas and that ISIS is using them to cross into America and all this kind of Breitbart, Blaze media type propaganda. I would really love to see, I looked high and low if he has anything to say about like the current anti-police protests, or because I mean, this movie is all about, you know, rising up against martial law and like an out of control, overpowered state trying to crush the, the little guy.
Yeah, that's turned on its own people.
Yeah. I couldn't find anything, so he is, unsurprisingly, he has remained quiet on the issue, although
he might be
wouldn't
dead.
Be surprised if he comes out. Yeah, but hopefully he's dead. But that would rob us of whatever his next movie is going to be.
Yeah.
Right. He's like our Spielberg. Like I would mourn. I would fucking like tear my garment in the street if he passed away. Like it would be, yeah. I would gnash my teeth and weep and tear my garments and things of that nature.
Yeah. And also to recap, last episode I mentioned it, but this is the movie we were talking about with Mike Norris, where he claimed to have been the target of an assassination attempt at one of the premieres. When the man with the gray suit put his hand on the back of his neck and he ended up in the hospital. Although doctors said there was nothing wrong with him.
Jesus.
Yeah.
The doctors are even in on it? That's what you're saying?
Right.
You have no idea how deep this rabbit hole goes.
Let's try to go down the rabbit hole and see how deep it does go. Let's talk about this film a little bit. Like I said, I don't think we have to go over the whole thing beat by beat, but I would love to spend the next few minutes talking about the plot, talking about exactly what our protagonists are resisting and how that could be commentary on today's political climate. Scott, would you want to start off setting the scene for this movie?
Well, it starts off with our star, Gary Heavin. He's in some kind of open forum setting. He's talking to the government, specifically Alex Jones, who's playing a senator.
Cameo, yeah.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate the time. My name is Charles Gray. I'm a semi-retired businessman with interests both domestically and internationally. The reason I'm here today is to encourage the U.S. Congress to take action to protect our country from its most imminent threat.
We don't need you to try to educate us on threats.
Your Congress commissioned a study that found that our nation is sustained by a vulnerable and woefully outdated power grid. Immediately after the detonation of one of these weapons, we would lose all sources of power. Electricity would cease to exist. The internet would go down, and along with that, the banking system.
Just who made you the expert on this?
You don't have to be an expert to understand this. You just have to read your own damn findings. According to your report, 90% of the American population will die in the first 12 months.
We're done. There are pressing matters that need to be addressed.
I want you to pass the SHIELD Act, which will harden the grid in our country. I came here to call you to action.
Before that, just real quick, before that, we have the great through line between all libertarian movies is that they all have to start with a stock footage montage.
Yes. Which that was the most exciting part for me. I was like pumped up.
Yeah.
Ordinary men and women are too small-minded to govern their own affairs. Order and progress can only come when individuals surrender their rights to an all-powerful sovereign.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order when we are successful, and we will be. We have a real chance at this new world order.
I wanted more found footage stuff.
Me too. They really could have gone there, and but it's true that in a bunch of libertarian films they start with that, and you think, oh wow, I'm gonna get this is ripped from the headlines, but no, it gets into just some vanity project shit.
Yeah. So sorry, he's talking to Alex Jones, right?
talking to Alex Jones. He's telling the government, he's like, why didn't you look at my, I think one of you said, 95 letters to the editor. If you had only read those, then you guys would know you're getting into trouble here.
And Alex Jones is he is cast against his type in this movie. He plays, I don't know if he's corrupt, but he plays the senator who has no time for these warnings, doesn't believe a word this guy's saying.
Yeah, very out of character.
That was charming. I enjoyed that. That was fun.
Yeah, so what is he warning everybody about?
I don't know. Something. Well, I guess he's probably warning them about whatever just happened in the movie, and they're like, "Yeah, get out of here."
I know that they're setting some kind of stage for the fact that it's like in the policies that you're enacting now, you're setting it up for the fact that Americans could be put under martial law. He's basically being like, you're not protecting the freedoms, because this is hypothetically what could happen. Then it turns out the next hour and a half of the movie is like exactly what he said was going to happen comes to life.
He specifically states electricity will cease to exist.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, right.
He's warning them about the specific EMP device that will erase all electricity from existence. People are going to be fucking out. People are going to be under martial law. They're going to be shot at because they're out in the streets flying keys on the end of their kites.
The martial law thing was a good point, though. I was like, yeah, they're not going to listen to you. The government wants its full power at their disposal, at their fingertips. I'm with them. I think his message is right. They should have listened. But, they're all the pockets of the military-industrial complex.
Or the UN. It's not really quite clear what the bad guy is. It's a vaguely Jewish man in a high-rise in the United Arab Emirates who is pulling the strings.
I mean,
he looks like Alfred Hitchcock. It's a very strange character. Yeah,
it's him and like 3 other people in the entire world who have to pull off this plan to enact martial law, and then it's not really quite clear what the next step is beyond that.
Well, I wanted to mention, since you were talking about that character, one of my favorite tropes that we've seen in other movies, but this movie like uses to its ultimate potential is it does the thing where like all the evil people, when you get to be a fly on the wall of their conversations, are just saying things like, we love ripping up the Constitution. like we love oppressing the rights of our citizens. It's so much fun. Like it's just they're always on. They're always breaking the fourth wall, They love it.
The sustainable population of our planet is no more than 500 million.
And we're willing to kill 7 billion.
Well, most of those lives aren't worth living. The mass of humanity in Africa, India, and China, they live in squalor. They'd be better off dead. The world would be better off without them.
And America will be first.
Yes, well, as our friend Henry Kissinger said, a strong America is the only thing standing in the way of a new world order.
It's funny because like this guy who claims to be like, I mean, the hero of this movie is a guy who says he's like the owner of a well-respected business or like a national chain of businesses or something. And therefore he knows exactly what is right for America.
Right.
But like, still, it's like this idea that you're so far removed from any problem, like any government enforced problem affecting you, that it has to be some big catastrophic event or invasion or act of violence against the United States to get rid of the Constitution, not like several hundred lawsuits being determined by like people who have been judges for like 3 weeks in their entire lives determining what's constitutional and what's not.
One of you mentioned the military-industrial complex, and speaking of that, parallel to this knowledge that there might be a government plot coming, we also meet some characters in the United States military. And we're introduced to 3 very handsome military men, and their captain. I don't know fucking military terms. They're like,
it's not very clear even in the movie. Though, like what their ranks are.
Right.
Brandon's a lieutenant.
Right. Our
There you go.
main character, what's his name? Brandon
Lane.
You got your white guy, your darker guy, and your glasses guy.
Yes.
Yeah, you have the nerd.
Yes.
Those are the three people you will meet in the military. Yeah, the tech guy. He knew how to set up the recorder.
Yeah, he could have been a podcaster. He was good enough for that.
Everything was hinging on this one recorder.
Yes.
Very archaic device.
Yeah, well, tell us about that, Xavier. How does this recording come about, and how does it play into the rest of the film?
I don't know how the recording comes about, but the recording itself is there, and it's just that it's the it's the UN villain saying, "Oh, I want to kill half the population." It's literally him just stating flat out that.
Colonel, you know, with the UN Secretary and your president getting ready to declare martial law, your troops must be prepared to fire on American citizens, whether armed or not. Yeah, I get it.
And for some reason, I don't know why everything hinges on getting this recording to that congressman.
Yeah, they don't even explain who they really got to get it to, because who did they give it to? The president? The government's corrupt now. You can't.
So the three guys first start getting suspicious because they get sent on a training mission through a simulated American town where they're enforcing martial law, and they're asking all kinds of questions of Marshal Teague about martial law. There they run into the guy, the crisis actor. You have your crisis actor who says he doesn't know anything because he's just a crisis actor.
I'm doing what they told me to do, man. I'm a crisis actor.
That was so confusing.
Yeah, so they're at the point where they're trying to interrogate people in the training exercise about what the grand plans for this whole thing is. So of course the glasses guy, he talks to his buddy about what all this confusion and where their orders are coming from, and I think that's what leads him to somehow get into the secret meeting tent with the representatives from Asia and Russia.
The secret meeting tent.
Where he leaves the recorder. That's never
what it was.
A bunch of shit happens. Yeah, they're running drills. Our main character, Brandon, is starting to get suspicious that the military is actually going to start suppressing the rights of citizens rather than protecting them. They have to do training exercises where they're specifically told to look for patriots, or look for people who might be having guns, which as is the most important American right, of course. But their friend who wears glasses captures a recording of the evil Russian man saying exactly the plot he's trying to do, because evil people love saying that. And
we are going to oppress America's most vulnerable minority, the founders of Curves Fitness.
And the recorder, the little pocket recorder that he uses to get this evidence, survives the eventual EMP attack because it was contained in a soldier's just metal foot locker. So it's the only electronic device, luckily, that survives this attack. And it has
not luckily.
Right.
It was a miracle.
It was a miracle, as the movie is very, very clear to tell us.
How'd the recording survive the EMP?
Been told not to call it luck, so miracle.
With this smoking gun in hand, our handsome hero, Brandon, rides on a motorcycle from his military station and tries to go back home to Daddy Gary Heavin's compound.
So meanwhile, what do we have? We have a glimpse at the liberal world that, is totally ill-prepared and inept at dealing with any sort of situation like this, the coming storm.
Yes.
And who do we see this through? Gary Heavin's friend, Carrie Scott. What is his name?
Carrie Scott.
Carrie Scott, yeah. He plays a liberal, quote-unquote liberal politician who Gary Heavin is blatantly bribing. At one point, he says, "I don't know why I keep giving you money. I never vote for you." And they're just best buds, which seems a little unethical, but whatever.
The rules are a little different when you're in that tax bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Does someone want to describe what the politician's daughter is like? Because I think some of the best jokes in the movie they're not really jokes, but we see them as jokes.
She says, "Why do you waste time with that fascist conspiracy nut?"
Yeah. Oh,
About
yeah.
Gary.
In reference to Gary.
Yeah.
And oh wait, for some reason, yeah, like he's dropping her off at school. Like if it's like a father dropping off his daughter at like, kindergarten, but she's just being dropped off at college.
I mean, it might as well be kindergarten with the junk they're filling those kids' mind with in these fucking schools.
And also like they walk inside and all the college students are talking about the manifestos they're writing.
Yeah.
Right.
It was I think it was like safe space university.
Yes.
Well, he's decided to publish Feminist and Fabulist.
Oh my god! Yeah. Like your own manifesto.
I know. I mean, I couldn't make up the stuff he was saying to me. Your generation finally has the chance to bury the God and Guns culture, and I can't even remember what else.
Yeah, it was so funny because she's this like beautiful young girl in liberal arts college writing feminist manifestos, and she's the daughter of a liberal politician. And
okay, but here's the thing. Here's the twist.
Yeah,
we find out she once dated Brandon, the Marine.
Yeah. And she dumped him because he joined the military-industrial imperialist death machine.
Exactly.
But who do you come crawling back to once the EMPs start dropping?
Her reasons for breaking up with him was like, well, you were going to leave me, and I was scared you could die at war, which is like, oh, that's a pretty good reason.
Yeah. The quote was, she said, what was I supposed to do? Wait for you to, wait 4 years for you to come back? And his response was
yes. A resounding yes.
Hang on, wait a minute. This is interesting though in context of Gary Heavin. I pulled it up right here.
Yeah.
Where is it? After his first marriage, Heavin was sentenced to jail for failure to pay child support.
What?
Huh.
Oh, that's good.
Interesting.
Wow. That must be where he first got the idea that the government shouldn't be allowed to tell you what to do.
This is all a metaphor for that moment in his life.
Oh my god, it all makes sense now.
Wow.
The UN is like the local sheriff coming to take him to jail for...
Yeah.
They're coming to deliver a summons for his court appearance.
The EMP is alimony.
One thing about the liberal arts college experience I wanted to mention, because it was one of my favorite moments of the movie, is that, we find out that, she used to date Brandon, but at college, she's, now seems to be dating this very similarly handsome, college guy who we see him with an acoustic guitar, blah blah blah. I think I'm going to estimate his SoundCloud has between 200 and 300 total plays on it, but he's spending approximately $240,000 on a music major, but when the EMP hits, when everything starts going crazy, she she very clearly says to him, you're never going to leave me, right? Which is well, I mean, obviously the only reason you said that is to make that expectation come crashing down later. And sure enough, when the shit hits the fan, she falls to the floor and he just looks at her and just fucking takes off. Because you can't trust these libs, man. They're snakes in the grass.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the truth.
Fuck this guy.
No, yeah, he leaves her to be at the mercy of the axe-wielding, mask-wearing thugs who are hunting for specifically her.
Right. Oh yeah, they were all yelling, "Hey, where's the politician's daughter?"
Yeah, it's never made clear why they need her, why this specific politician's daughter. I'm guessing that this is happening all over America and we're just seeing one glimpse of it. I mean, it's not like a movie where we only know what the main characters know. We get to see, the audience gets to sit in on, this discussions between the puppet master in the Middle East and his assistant. And it's not, and still you walk away having no clear understanding of what this whole thing is for, other than to just get people to stay inside for an indefinite amount of time.
Kind of like what they're doing now.
Yeah, which as we all know now is pretty much impossible to keep anybody from following any sort of rules.
Well, that's the resilience of Americans. There's even a line in the movie when two of the like evil shadow government people are talking to each other who we never see again. And there's like a woman and a man talking, and the woman is like, well, what about the resilience of the American people? And the man is like, I can't remember exactly. I'll put the audio in, but he's basically like, they'll come crawling out once we keep them in long enough.
The American people are resilient. What's to come if the citizens rise up?
Yes, well, when parents see their children starving and families hauled away to FEMA camps for imprisonment or worse, then yes, we expect some resistance at first. But the vanity of nationalism will quickly fade. The people will beg for help. Any help. These are but the birth pangs of change. Birth pangs of a new world order.
But I gotta say, the woman talking about the resilience of the American people was right. Like, we're supposed to be inside right now. We're fucking out there doing whatever we want. It's great. God bless, you know?
Yeah, that seems to be just about the only sort of like unity we can have as American people, is to disregard any sort of guidance to help us stay healthy and alive.
So basically at that point, Penny is the name of the politician's daughter, and she gets rescued in a helicopter by her father's friend, Gary Heavin. Very convenient, by the way, when you just like are friends with a multi-billionaire. If you're friends with a multi-billionaire, just fucking walk outside. It doesn't matter if there's people just like shooting automatic weapons in the street. Like literally a helicopter will come down from the sky and pick you up and you'll be fine. Chances
are you are like that multi-billionaire has probably been aware of this plot to take over America for the past 6 months and has given approval at some stage.
And, Brandon's also trying to make it to the compound. So basically at that point, we've met our players. We've gotten a bit of commentary about the state of things, and everything centers around trying to get back to this multi-billionaire's compound, which is the only place in the world that is going to be perfectly safe from all of this.
Yeah, here we see everybody's reunited, the picture of the perfect American family, which I have no idea who could relate to this family in any way. They're all very weird.
Oh yeah, there's like a 12-year-old with braces who like always wants to shoot AR-15s.
Sam's gonna pick you up and take you over to Mr. Gray's house, okay?
Awesome. Maybe Sam will let me use one of her AR-15s.
Yeah, everybody has that one member of the family.
And then the grandma.
Yeah, the grandma who's given up on modern medicine, even though her son could afford to send her to the nicest hospital in the world.
Mama, you were supposed to start taking your medicine.
I'm done.
Done with what? This isn't even open.
All the pills, the shots, the scans, the probes, everything. I still got cancer. It's not going anywhere.
Mama.
Besides, I feel great. Just great. From now on, I'm living on faith. It serves me real good.
We probably can't stress this enough that the guy who wrote and stars in this movie is worth $2 billion, and he got it from founding Curves Fitness, and he believes that the coronavirus is a hybrid of HIV and SARS designed to kill Asian people.
Was Curves just a Texas thing, or did you all have Curves in where you grew up?
There was Curves.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
They're in Pennsylvania.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Beautiful. A Curves on every street corner.
They're building a Curves across the street from a Curves, okay? Yeah. Who else is in his family? There's his wife stars in the movie. They take on different names in the movie, but they're basically playing themselves. Her name is Diane in real life, right? Gary and Diane Heavin, if I'm not mistaken. And there's this like blonde woman who's just sort of like hot and
yeah, was that their daughter?
I don't know.
It's his Gumar.
That's what I thought.
It's his Gumar for the Sopranos fans. Yep. It's weird. She's just like, she's just there, and she's like the comic relief / like badass it's like such a funny old man libertarian fantasy that this character is.
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally.
Cause she like looks like a swimsuit model, but she like smokes cigars and like builds Molotov cocktail launchers, but also like sets herself on fire and is like hot, 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 hot. Oh, that's gonna hurt in the morning. And like she's like a wisecracking like cartoon character.
Oh, that's hot! That's hot! That's hot! Oh, that's hot! Oh, that's hot! Oh, oh.
The Molotov cocktail launcher is maybe one of the most irresponsible things I've seen shared in a movie. Like, of all the things that you could be like, I wonder if I could build one of those. Like, you will die. Please do not build one of those. Please do not try to turn
it's like
your potato gun.
A potato launcher that shoots Molotov cocktails.
Yeah, she's there. Yeah, we said the grandma, the young girl who, by the way, is Mike Norris' daughter. So she's the granddaughter then of Chuck Norris. So that's why she's in the movie.
Terrible acting.
She's so bad.
Horrific.
She's so bad. But as,
honestly, he should have fired her.
But as I noticed during the film, this film does pass the Bechdel test because there's 3 women and they're talking about AR-15s. But yeah, now at this point, Penny gets airlifted to the compound. Brandon is there. They reconnect, decide they're meant to be after all. I mean, it helps that they're maybe one of the 10 people left in the world who aren't going to be murdered by the United Nations. And they're getting ready because they know they're going to be under siege. And sure enough, who fucking rolls up to the compound but the United Nations?
All of their troops together roll up to the front gate of the compound, seemingly without any sort of plan to defeat these insurgents. But they roll up because they intercept the CB radio broadcast of the recording, which apparently in this world, like, I don't know how CB radio still works if the EMP went off.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that technology works.
Gary Heavin has like a generator to keep his place up and running, but I don't know who else. I guess if you have a CB radio, you probably have a generator for your house. But I can't imagine that message going out to more than like, I don't know, 15 other people, and why that would be so upsetting to the UN, who so far their plan has gone perfectly.
Yeah.
That's just how Gary wrote it.
Yeah, I do wonder what the writing process was for this. I mean, like how many drafts there were, like who he sent this to for notes. To be a fly in that room.
I guess it was just him and Mike spitballing, flying their helicopters around.
Speaking of spitballing, remember when the crisis actor goes, I don't give a spit.
Don't give a spit about your martial law.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
I guess that's an important thing to notice in this movie is that they were trying really hard for the PG rating because there is 0 swearing in this movie, and they go out of their way to, what do they... The grandma says she's a son of a biscuit eater?
Yes, yeah.
I was a tough son of a biscuit eater.
It felt even like not even like a rating issue. I was thinking that Gary just probably doesn't like cursing.
Yeah, but then there were 2 or 3 scenes that actually used like squibs and blood, and then a whole other bunch of shooting scenes where like no blood at all, like massacres, and it was just 0 blood. So who knows what that's about?
Yeah.
I think that that's true. That probably is a PG-13 thing, because I remember that with like the 3rd Christopher Nolan Batman movie, they're just like endlessly shooting people, but they show no blood, so it's still PG-13, even though it's like extremely violent.
Part of me thinks they just didn't know how to use like squibs or fake blood, because like a lot of times when somebody gets shot, it has like the Decker style special effect of just like superimposing a bullet hole on them.
Yeah.
That like moves all jittery around like 3 inches of their body as they fall to the ground.
There was that one scene where when all the Marines get shot up, just a bunch of feathers fly all over the place. Which might mean these Marines were all birds.
Whoa.
Oh.
Interesting.
I just assumed that like the military's budget on down comforters was like $10 million.
They slept
the pillow
so
fight
good.
platoon. We are experiencing a pillow fight scenario.
That's why we didn't stand a chance against the UN peacekeeping forces.
Right. Yeah, in the final confrontation, the UN rolls up with about 16 people and also the two, like the head of the army, possibly, as played by Marshall Teague, and like the head of the Russian army or whatever. Like they send their absolute main guys out, and they bring, we'll just bring a handful of people, you know, to storm this heavily armed multi-billionaire compound, which is very funny.
16 is generous.
Right.
It's probably
right.
Probably under 10.
I think I could just say, we'll talk about main themes after this, but I think I could just say there's a final aerial confrontation. We get Gary Heavin in the driver's seat of a helicopter, Brandon in shotgun, and there's a well-timed Molotov cocktail throw from an upper helicopter onto one below. It's so funny.
Really
and,
awesome. He just drops it on them. Like, I don't know how exactly they outmaneuver them to get in the position that they were in the end.
So good.
Of just hovering directly. Like, they were just like, hold still a minute. And then they just dropped the bomb on top of them.
Great kid. Good shot, son.
And you know, if it's a Mike Norris movie, you gotta have somebody flying a plane or a helicopter.
True. You noticed that about Bells of Innocence, which we watched last week, Missionaire, which we commit to eventually watching for the show, and this one too. There's always helicopters or private planes. Yeah. It's a directorial trademark. But you know, I'm sure there will be, as we talk about main themes, there'll be other special moments that come up, but I would say for our purposes it's a pretty good summary of AmeriGeddon.
Just so you know, once the Molotov cocktail falls on top of the bad guy's helicopter, the movie is over.
I think it's also important to note that we have to realize before going into this movie that really provides context is AmeriGeddon is made up of two words, specifically America and Armageddon. And once you put those two things together, it provides all you need to know for the rest of the movie.
But so a question I wanted to pose to you all, the cultural critics that we are, is, you know, so this movie was made in 2016. I want to assume it came out before Trump's election because, you know, it posits the idea that like we'll never have someone who will think the way we do, you know, whose values will align with ours. But now, of course, you know, Trump is like secretly arresting all the Democrats, and they're all wearing ankle bracelets and, you know, stuff like that. They've been replaced by body doubles, etc.
Yeah. But real quick,
yeah,
he did say that when he was pressed on who created the coronavirus, his response was that it was people who were trying to diminish Trump's accomplishments in office. Yeah, and this movie did come out in 2016, which would have been the year of the election. So I'm guessing it was written in like 2014 or 2015. Right. So it's very much an Obama era movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Gary is a strange billionaire because it's like most, I think, conspiracy theories I hear of like coronavirus are like, oh, it's like to destroy and dismantle like America for Chinese supremacy, and so the Chinese created it. It's like Gary just thinks it's to make Trump look bad. Like it's very simple, you know?
Yeah, but it's also, it was designed to kill Asian people, but it was like too powerful is his logic, which seems like it would be, implies that it's like an American weapon unleashed on Asia that went out of control. Right.
Well, how do so, you know, in this movie, they have a set of ideas of how the government is trying to oppress its citizenry and what citizens can do to rise up. How does that compare to the dynamics now with coronavirus and with mass civil unrest? How would the logic of this movie apply to our current situation?
There doesn't seem to be a lot of logic in people who think this way. My partner recently clandestinely joined a 3%ers Facebook group. And like, you would think that this was the moment that the 3%ers is like a kind of like a militia, kind of just like a gathering of like-minded Facebook posters who are founded on the idea that when the American Revolution happened in the late 1700s, only 3% of the colonists rose up against the British Empire, and that was enough to overthrow them, which is like not based on any fact and also completely disregards everything else that Britain was involved in the war that led to them not really trying that hard to quell the American Revolution. But so they claim that they're like the descendants of they're carrying the torch for the 3% who rose up against tyranny, and they will do so again when the time comes, which like right now seems like a pretty good time to rise up against tyranny with like heavily militarized police forces just unleashing tear gas and curfews and basically martial law on the masses in cities. But instead, the people in this Facebook group are just posting like coronavirus is 5G and that like we need to go defend these statues in these towns from getting torn down.
Defending statues is so lame.
Yeah, if you're wondering what people like Gary Heavin would think in times like this, think about what the correct thing to do is and then do the complete opposite. They would be on the side of tyranny and the New World Order.
But real quick, can any of y'all think of a statue of anything that could exist? Like the idea of like the best statue you can imagine. Can you think of a scenario where you would do anything other than be like, oh, that's too bad, that's getting destroyed?
The problem is that I often confuse statues with real human beings because they look so similar. So I just get so upset seeing a statue get toppled down. It looks so painful.
Right. The gentle giants.
Yeah, they're just standing there. Leave them alone.
Xavier's an empath.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So another thing, a big theme of this movie that I wanted to do a final discussion of is the mind of the billionaire, the beautiful mind of the billionaire. And, you know, as we were talking about the plot of the movie, we saw ways that came across in the way that he wrote this movie and cast himself. But like, how would you diagnose the mind of the billionaire after seeing this movie?
Our story may never be recorded in the annals of history. And our history is now nothing but fond memories of a once great nation. We are not willing to die for a puppet government run by a demonic elite. It may not have been our choice, but we are the new patriots.
So here's the thing about Gary. I don't think Gary is a billionaire, but he's not in the club. You know, he's not a billionaire's billionaire. He's still an outsider. So he's like still, you know, he never got to travel with Jeffrey Epstein. I doubt. I mean, I haven't checked the logs, but like he's not one of those. He's not an elite.
Yeah, he's way too over in like what he's trying to do with America.
Yeah.
Like the billionaires, they are like the ones funding like fake grassroots organizations to like make you think that, all these people, like Americans are demanding that we reopen a week into coronavirus when, you know, everybody was like, well, let's wait 3 months for nothing to change and then we can reopen.
Right. But I think that's a great point. Like, he's not classy. Like, he doesn't have class. Like, he's not in society. He doesn't participate in society. Like, his idea of like class and luxury is like what one of you were saying earlier, is sort of like, it's like a Fox News bombshell, like throwing Molotov cocktails, but wearing like a $300 shawl for some reason. And like, I don't know, stuff like that. It's, I
mean, he's like the guy, he's like one of those fake cowboy guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
he has a chain of predominantly female fitness studios, and then he writes a movie about how he's like the badass level-headed guy who knows what to do in every situation, despite the fact that like it's not like he got his money from like investigating hidden tombs and like fighting off cartel members and taking the money from them and returning it to the like poor villagers that was plundered from. He's like a guy who just like got lucky, and because he can afford all the things to present as this rugged cowboy guy, he thinks he is that thing.
Was it luck or was it meant to be? Was it a miracle?
It could have been a miracle. I mean, it says a lot that like the guy needs to label his tank of water H2O just to make it sound that much cooler.
Yeah. One thing I really wanted to mention, which we did talk about, but his attitude in the whole movie is just like so funny. Like there's just like, obviously it's, you know, a movie, but still he just has this beautiful mind where there's just no chance of him failing. Like he's like, all right, well, we're going to go down to the school and get Penny in the helicopter. And they just like, all right, we'll get her. And then there's never any doubt that like she's going to die or they won't get there fast enough or like, you know, they're going to get like attacked while they're in the air or when they get there. It's just like pure. It's perfect because the people with minds like that get what they want. Like they succeed.
Yeah.
Like,
well, because he already has a $2 billion.
But it's also like, it's the coronavirus principle. Like if you just don't, I have a theory that if you just don't believe in coronavirus, you won't get it. Like I'm sure that's not true, but it's just like, if you have like self-awareness, then bad shit happens to you. It's like it's like we talked about in other Christian movie discussions, but it's like the diehard Christians like die in the first act of movies. Like the people who don't know they're sinning yet, they live their whole lives and then they find out, oh wait, this is what sin is. This is actually bad. And then they get a chance to turn it around. You just gotta not be aware.
Right? The mom in the movie just said, I'm done doing the medicine.
Yeah.
And they were like, so you're just giving up? And she was like, who said anything about giving up?
Yeah, she's like, I'm just going to stop doing all my cancer treatments. And I literally thought that there was like, it would have been so easy for them to just put in a scene where it's like, you know, right as her family, like at the end of the movie, like right after her family succeeds, she's like, you know, I'm so proud of you all. And then she died. No, she's just fine. You know?
She's got a gun too.
Right.
She also said God would take care of Brandon, which was true. He made it. He's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. This guy, Gary Heavin, he's got like the Giuliani brain thing going where he thinks like he's the only one with the knowledge of these like insane Facebook conspiracy theories. And like it's his job to tell everyone what's going on.
One thing I liked in this movie was that he calls for Texas to secede. That's got to be his real thoughts. And I know, like, I lived in Texas for just 2 years, but there are a lot of people who are into Texas seceding. And I don't know. I guess I don't understand the where you're like a patriot who loves America, but you want your state to secede. Kind of suggests you don't like most of the country.
You have a specific idea of what America should be about that doesn't really make any sense or translate into like just the fact that you live in Texas and can do whatever you want. Like, isn't that evidence that you're like living in the America that you want to be a part of?
Right. Well, you know, that point actually is important to the film because American allegiance is very confusing in this film because like they are so concerned, like the American government is going to go around is like literally murdering millions of people with this EMP. But yet when they destroy the helicopter of the UN, they all do a toast and they're like, to America, to America. And then like, and then the young man who flees the army, you know, he's like upset because the entire army is about to go around like taking the guns from and killing citizens. Yet whenever he identifies himself for the rest of the movie, he's like, Lieutenant Brandon Lane, U.S. Army. Like he's like so proud of his like rank and his like his, you know, the system that has given him this particular type of honor. He's fighting for American ideals, but like literally, according to you, everyone in America except for 10 people who are in a billionaire's compound are either just dead or are actively trying to kill people. So like, what America? You know, like when do you?
Just like, yeah, it's like a longing for the like. Just the propaganda ideal of America.
Yes.
That's like it's like not giving any thought towards what the actual logistics of like running a country or like maintaining order or any semblance of like cohesion between all these different states and stuff. And it's just like, well, the idea of America is whatever I decide it is in any given moment.
Yep. Final discussion question. Let's leave our listeners on some practical advice. Based on what we learned from this movie, what should you do when the government declares martial law?
Well, when it happened a few weeks ago, Julian got arrested a couple of times.
Right.
That's the first we've mentioned this on the podcast.
That's true.
Keeping that secret, maybe we got to cut that.
Oh, no, it doesn't matter to me.
We've alluded to it a little bit. So that's the answer. If martial law is happening, resist and get arrested.
Do whatever they say to do. I can't divulge exactly what they did to me when I was in custody, but they're very nice people. And if you just listen to what they say and, protest, I'm all for protests as long as they're peaceful.
Right.
We got to draw a line at property.
Right.
Julian is now a police informant.
I've been looking at the fucking pictures of those two people in front of the... Did I talk about this on the... Before we recorded?
We did not mention our new king and queen.
The St. Louis
Oh my
couple.
God,
I guess that's
amazing.
what you should do. Because that's like this movie in real life.
Yes.
Like the real life translation of what this movie would be like,
right?
Practically speaking, is that couple in St. Louis who like, I don't understand what the fuck is wrong with you that you're like, I am willing to shoot, fire an assault rifle into a crowd of hundreds of people until they like ultimately overwhelm me and kill me to protect my house because. But then what's your next step? Now you're dead. And it's like you didn't even... What was the point of that?
Right.
Like, if you can afford that house, you can surely afford another house.
Right.
Just fucking leave. Or just mind your own business.
I think the question, what is your next step, can be asked to like so many people who are like political actors nowadays. And the people in this movie too. It's like, okay, great. We have the compound, we have the guns, we have everything. So what now? Like, what's your end game with this? Like,
yeah. I was told there would be angry hordes.
Yeah. Right.
And so the second I see any large gathering of people outside of my house, I'm going to use these things.
Right.
And really in this movie too, for all the, everything goes as it's supposed to because this is Gary's world. But even with all that, it still counts on the bad guys just missing them at point blank range for it to work out.
Right.
Yeah, and having using no military tactics or anything. Half the time they're just like not even shooting their guns and running in a straight line. And then in one of the few moments when the enemy soldiers do shoot, they're all like running in front of each other while they're firing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that even happened with that St. Louis couple. I mean, like she was like standing behind with her little pistol, like literally the gun right behind her husband's head. Just just oblivious to how these weapons work.
Of course, we're referring to on the day that we're recording this, like the entire internet is just celebrating our new king and queen, which is the business casual St. Louis couple defending their property line using the glorious Second Amendment. I think that
fucking guys lounging around outfit is so funny.
He's wearing a fucking
barefoot with a tucked in polo,
like khakis with the braided belt, and he's like, did he put that on to go outside, or was he already wearing that when he's just sitting in house eating dinner?
Honestly, Xavier, I think you could pull off that look.
Oh yeah, totally. Thank you.
Yeah, But wait, any other big moments from the movie that we should mention before we get out of here?
I'm guessing like every Curves franchise has a loose floorboard that you can lift up, and there's like some kind of panic room or armory or something underneath. So get your ass to Curves.
Yeah.
When you hear the boots on the ground, get your ass to Curves.
I wonder if all Curves are open, or if he's like fuming about that right now, that they have to be closed in some states.
All Curves are bastards.
Oh, there you go.
All right, that was a beautiful film, AmeriGeddon. Boys, what did we think? What's our ratings? In my opinion, I've got to say this was a perfect film. In fact, I'm going to give it AR 15 out of 15 because I thought this was a magnificent piece of cinema. What about you guys?
I will give this movie 2 out of 2 Secret Millionaires, which was the show that Gary and Diane Heavin were on, the reality TV show where they went undercover as poor folk and saw how the other half lives, and then gave something like, $14,000 out of their $2 billion to some random lucky person.
Wow.
Very much undercover boss.
Yeah.
I think it was on like Trinity Broadcasting Network or something.
See, we would never fall for that shit because we know Gary Heavin's face. He's one of my favorite celebrities. I would be like, yo, Gary Heavin, what's up? I love your movies, you know?
Yeah. Well, he did fly around in a helicopter. He was pretending when he was undercover.
I see.
He was on the Jim Baker show twice too.
This guy gets around. See, it wasn't a very Christian movie, but it's a very Christian.
It's
movie.
in the family. It's a lot of the same actors.
Like Christian libertarian fascism, that sort of thing that somehow has coalesced in modern American society.
I'm going to go ahead and give this a perfect score of 97,000 out of 97,000 United Nations armed personnel that are coming to take our freedoms away. But not if I get to the compound first.
Yeah, I'm just going to have to piggyback off of y'all. Perfect film for sure. I'm going to give it a 600 out of 600 curves in North America.
Oh.
Real Americas have curves.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, another fucking banger out of the Christian libertarian cultural machine. Xavier, it was so nice having you on Boys Bible Study. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was very fun. I'm going to go figure out where to buy a gun now.
Yes, it's time. It's time. Listeners, Boys Bible Study, gentle listeners, stop being so gentle. It's time to arm yourselves to the teeth because the UN's coming for you. If you're enjoying our free episodes, visit patreon.com/boysbiblestudy. We give you at least 2 additional bonus episodes per month if you subscribe at the $5 level or higher. So please check us out. On behalf of myself, Ash, my co-hosts Scott and Julian, our guest Xavier, we would like to say peace be with you.
And also with you.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I feel your love in me, it's coming from within. Oh my God, my devotion is so unwavering. Divine emotions when you enter me. Every day